Good morning, sir. Good morning, classmates. We are the presenter for this day. Our topic is about project communication management. But before we proceed on discussion, I would like to introduce myself. I am Pitts Magno, registered electrical engineer, currently affiliated at Philippine National Oil Company. I graduated at NUST last April 2013. Moving on the topic, what is project communication management? So, project communication management is a collection of processes that helps to make sure the right messages are sent, received, and understood by the right people. It includes the process necessary to ensure that the information need of the project and its stakeholder are met through the development of artifacts and implementation of activities designed to achieve the effective information exchange. Reflected on the figure are the project communication management overview. It contains of plan communication management, manage communication, and monitor of communication. For the topic plan communication management, I'll be the one to discuss this, and for manage communication, Engineer Suri will discuss this topic, and for monitoring communication, this will be discussed by Engineer Matitum. Before we proceed on the main topic, let us discuss a little bit on the following subtopic because I think it is important to consider in developing strategy to ensure the communication is effective for the stakeholder. So first is key concept for project communication management. Okay, so we know that communication is exchange of information intended or involuntary. The information exchange can be in form of ideas, instruction, or emotion. The mechanism by which information is exchanged can be in form of written, either physical or electronic, spoken, either face-to-face or remote, formal or informal, through gesture, through tone of voice or facial expression, through media, through picture, action, or even just a choice of word. Effective communication builds a bridge between diverse stakeholders who may have different cultural and organizational background, as well as different level of expertise and perspective. So, communication activities have many dimensions. These are the following: internal, external, formal, informal, hierarchical focus, official, unofficial, and written and oral. There are two parts of successful communication. The first part involves developing an appropriate communication strategy based on both the needs of the project and the project stakeholder. From that strategy, a communication management plan is developed to ensure that the appropriate messages are communicated to the stakeholders in various format and various means as defined by the communication strategy. These messages constitute the project communication, the second part of successful communication. Misunderstanding during communication can be reduced through using of 5C of traditional written communication. These include the following: correct grammar spelling, concise expression of elimination of excess words, clear purpose and expression directed to the needs of the reader, coherent logical flow of ideas, controlling flow of words and ideas. Along with the focus on stakeholders and recognition of the value to the project organization of effective stakeholder, engagement comes from recognition that developing and implementing appropriate communication strategies is vital to maintaining effective relationships with the stakeholders. Trends and emerging practices for project communication management includes the following: inclusion of stakeholders in project review, inclusion of stakeholder in project meeting, increased use of social computing, multi-faceted approach to communication. So, plan communication management is the process of developing an appropriate approach and plan for the project communication activities based on the information needs of each stakeholder or group, available organizational asset, and the needs of the project. Reflected on the slide is the plan communication management overview. It consists of inputs, tools and techniques, and outputs. Next slide shows the plant communication management data flow diagram. On the left side, it includes the factors that need to be considered in developing plant communication management. An effective communication management plan that recognizes the diverse information need of the project stakeholder is developed early in the project life cycle. It should be reviewed regularly and modified when necessary. When the stakeholder community changes or at the start of its new project phase. On the most project communication, planning is performed very early during stakeholder identification and project management plan development. For plan communication management, number one input is project chartel. The project chartel identifies the key of stakeholder list. It may also contain information about the role and responsibilities of the stakeholders. Number two is project management plan. Project management plan is the document that describes how the project will be executed, monitored and controlled, and closed. It involves the resource management plan that provides guidance on how team resources will be categorized and allocated, managed and released. Also, on generating project management plan, stakeholder engagement plan is factor that need to consider. It identifies the management strategy required to effectively engage stakeholder. These strategies are often fulfilled via communication. Number three is project documents. Project documents that can be considered as input for this process include the following: requirement documentation. It required documentation can be include project stakeholder communication, stakeholder register. Stakeholder register is used to plan communication activities with the stakeholders. Number four is enterprise environmental factors. Enterprise environmental factors that can influence the plan communication management are the following: organizational culture, political climate, and governance framework, personal administration policy, stakeholder risk threshold, establish communication channel, tools and system, global, regional, or local trends, practices or habits, geographical distribution of facility and resources. Number five is organizational process asset. The organizational process asset that can influence the plan communication management are the following: organizational policies and procedure for social media, ethics and security, organizational policies and procedure for risk, change and data management, organizational communication requirements, standardized guidelines for development, exchange, storage, and retrieval of information, historical information and lesson learned repository, and stakeholder communication data information from previous project. For plan communication management tools and technique, it includes expert judgment. Expertise should be considered from an individual or group with a specialized knowledge or training in the following topics: politics and power structure in the organization, environment and culture of the organization and other customer organizations, organizational change management approach and practices, industry or type of project deliverables, organizational communication technologies, organizational policies and procedure regarding legal requirements and corporate communications, organizational policies and procedure regarding security, and stakeholder including customer or sponsor. Next is communication requirements analysis. Analysis of communication requirements determines the information needs of the project stakeholders. These requirements are defined by combining the type of format of information needed with the analysis of the value of the information. Source of information typically used to identify and define the project communication requirements. These are the following: stakeholder information and communication requirements, number of potential communication channel or path, organizational chart, project organization and stakeholder responsibility, and etc. Communication technology. The method is used to transfer information among the project stakeholder may vary significantly. Common methods used for information exchange and collaboration includes conversation, meeting, written documents, database, social media, and websites. The following are the factors that can affect the choice of communication technology. First is urgency of the need for information. The urgency, frequency, and format of the information to be communicated may vary from the project to project and also within a different phase of project. Second is availability and reliability of technology. The technology that required for distribution of project communication artifacts should be compatible, available, and accessible for the stakeholder throughout the project. Third is ease of use. The choice of communication technology should be suitable for project participant and proper training event should be planned and appropriate. Next is communication model. Communication model can represent the communication process in its most basic linear form. sender and receiver, in a more interactive form that encompasses the additional element of feedback, sender, receiver, and feedback, or in a more complex model that incorporates the human elements of the senders or receiver, and attempt to show the complexity of a communication that involves people. As part of the communication process, the sender is responsible for the transmission of the message, ensuring the information being communicated is clear and complete, and confirming the message is correctly interpreted. The receiver is responsible for ensuring that the information is received and is entirely interpreted correctly and is acknowledged or responded to appropriately. This component takes place in an environment where there will likely be noise and other barriers to effective communication. You see in the figure is the model for cross-cultural communication. It presents challenge to ensuring that the meaning of the message has been understood. Differences in communication style can arise from difference in working method, age, nationality, professional discipline, ethnicity, race, or gender. People from different cultures communicate using different language, technical design document, different styles, and expect different process and protocol. The communication model show incorporates the idea that the message itself and how it is transmitted are influenced by sender's current emotion state. Knowledge, background, personality, culture, and biases will influence how the message is received and interpreted and will contribute to the barrier or noise. This communication model and its enhancement can assist in developing communication strategies and plans for person-to-person or even small group-to-small group communications. Number 5 in tools and technique is communication method. There are several communication methods that are used to share information among project stakeholders. First is interactive communications. This communication is between two or more parties performing a multi-directional exchange in information in real time. Push communication. It sends a distributed directly to the specific recipients who need to receive the information. Full communication. Full communication is used for large complex information sets or for large audience and requires a recipient to access content. Correction subject to security procedure. Interpersonal communication. Interpersonal communication information is exchanged between individuals, typically face to face. Small group communication. Small group communication occurs within a group of around 3 to 6 people. Public communication. Public communication is a single speaker addressing a group of people. Mass communication. Mass communication is between the person or group sending the message and the large, sometimes anonymous group from whom the information is intended. Network or social media. Network and social computing communication. Support emerging communication trend of many to many supported by social computing technology and media. Next tools and technique is interpersonal and team skill. Interpersonal and team skill that can be used for this process includes the following. First is communication style assessment. Communication style assessment is a technique used to assess communication style and identify the preferred communication method, format, and content for planned communication activities. Next is political awareness. Political awareness helps the project manager to plan communication based on the project environment as well as the organizational political environment. Next is cultural awareness. Cultural awareness is an understanding of the difference between individuals, group, and organization and adapting the project's communication strategy in the context of this difference. This awareness and any consequent action minimize misunderstanding and miscommunication that may result from cultural difference within the project stakeholders community. The last tools and technique are data representation and meeting. For data representation, a data representation technique that can be used for this process includes but not limited to a stakeholder engagement assessment matrix. For meeting, project meeting can include virtual, via email or face-to-face meeting and can be supported with document collaboration technologies, including email messages and project websites. The plan communication management process requires discussion with the project team to determine the most appropriate way to update the communicate project information and response to requests for various stakeholders for information. For the output of plan communication management, this include communication management plan. The communication management plan is component of the project management plan that describes how project communications will be planned, structured, implemented, and monitored for effectiveness. The communication management plan can include guidelines and templates for project status meeting, project team meeting, e-meetings, and email messages. This use of a project website and project management software can be included if these are to be used in the project. The communication management plan contains of the following information: stakeholder communication requirements, information to be communicated including language, format, content, and level of detail, escalation process, reason for distribution and information, person responsible for communicating the information, person responsible for authorizing release of confidential information, and glossary of common terminology. Next output is project management plan updates. Project management plan updates is any changes to project management plans. Goes through the organization's change control process via change of request. Components that may require a change request for the project management plan include but not limited to the stakeholder engagement plan. The stakeholder engagement plan is updated to reflect any processes, procedures, tools, or technique that affect the engagement of stakeholder in project decision and execution. Last part of plan communication management output is project document updates. Project documents that may be updated as a result of carrying out of this process include, but not limited to, the following: project schedule and stakeholder register. Project schedule may be updated to reflect communication activities, or stakeholder register may be updated to reflect the communication plan. So that's end my topic. Thank you.